So I'd like to tell you a story tonight about a church that got into a conversation about same-sex attraction and same-sex relationships. It was lengthy, often animated, sometimes heated, but on the whole, it remained respectful of the range of viewpoints and convictions held within the church. Now, as you might imagine, certain well-known and often quoted passages were visited. The verses in Leviticus, where God says to his people, "It is an abomination for a man to lie with another man as he would with a woman. To do so carried the death penalty." Or the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. The church outing to that place was short-lived to everyone's relief. For most people on all sides of the discussion, the threat of sexual violence by an angry mob to two visitors to the town seemed to have little bearing or light to shed on consensual same-sex relationships today. So they headed for the New Testament, to the writings of St. Paul, who gives us two vice lists that set homosexual practice alongside greed and drunkenness and slander and swindling and murder and slave trading and perjury. And of course, Romans chapter 1, where St. Paul depicts the non-Jewish world, the Gentile world, in rebellion against the Creator, epitomized by women giving up natural relations for unnatural and men burning in lust for one another. Now, quite a lot of people in the church thought that the obvious and clear meaning of these passages were that same-sex relations were completely ruled out of any kind. That was not to say that to be same-sex attracted was in of itself sinful or shameful. But there were others who argued that the biblical writers were addressing patterns of behavior that were prevalent in their own day. So, for example, pederasty, where a man would have sex with a young boy in addition to his normal marital relationships. Or the temple cults, where bizarre sexual rituals took place. Well, most of you will know about the general degradation of Roman society, where all kinds of excessive sexual behavior was carried out and celebrated. Now, the crux question for the church was whether these biblical passages were addressing all forms of same-sex relationships, whether or not they were characterized by committed love. Well, the argument ran for some time, and I can't give you all the details and nuances here, but suffice to say, no agreement was reached. But a turning point came when one of the older members of the church stood up and observed that the conversation seemed to be going round in circles around a handful of texts. He said, "We need to widen this conversation, to pursue it within the big story of the Bible, from creation to fall, to redemption, to the new creation." It seemed like wise and timely counsel, so that's what they did.